What's good, YouTube? This your boy Rogue Scientist back with you with another, shall I say, post ban list and 200 IQ content. Before I begin, please like, share, and subscribe to your boy. Just coming back, haven't made a video in a while, just been really busy. But if you guys noticed the new ban list that just came out, it is really crazy. So tier elements, rest in the dust, and hopefully you do not come right back out. But in all honesty, I had no problem with tier elements. I'm pretty fair against it with my little strategies here and whatnot. But and this is just pretty much online. I haven't been dueling physically. Like I said, I've been really busy getting the jobs and stuff, trying to get better. But now we got another threat, another new kid on the block, which is Kashtira. We already had a forecast of what they can do. Its strengths, its inboards, and its weaknesses. So I am going to talk about their weaknesses. As you all know, Kashtira likes to lock you out of zones. If they lock you out of monster zones, you can't play Yu-Gi-Oh! If they do it enough, they can lock your back row and you're really screwed. And I'm pretty sure they can lock the extra deck monster zone, but regardless. So you need to be prepared to how to combat against these zone lockers because they're gonna be everywhere. Some tier elements players, they gonna still stay true to the deck, but you know they're gonna look around for other resources and look for other recipes that other people may have or any ideas they may want to implement in their deck. Hence, copy and paste. But you know, people just don't think outside the box anymore. They just look at other people, take their formulas and run with it. Add maybe 1 or 2 cards and call it theirs. Hey, that's what floats every competitor's boat because they want to win. But for those that like to think outside the box, like myself and other rogue players that just like to stay true to their nature of dueling, but I'm not knocking you for you liking Kashtira or tier elements. They're pretty good decks. But it's not based off of this is tier 1, 2, 3, tier 0. It's just based off popularity. It is a pretty strong deck, don't get me wrong. But popularity prevails over the strength of the deck. It could suck ass, but if everybody's playing it, it can be a high tier deck. Now, with that being said, let us exploit the weaknesses of Kashtira. To begin, Kashtira likes to lock you out of your zones, and they will do everything in their power to make their rank 7 plays. So you got to prevent that. But if it's already established, you got to stop it. Because Kashtira don't put up negates, and they do not put up any protection except Shangri-Ira, which protects it from card destructions. So with that being said, there are some ones like Crush Cards I saw. They have their top 5. Go check them out. Like, share, and subscribe to their channel as well. They're very informative. Also, Tom Box and Nishi's MST. They're pretty good. And others like myself, Rogue Hero. Shout outs to him. He's still staying committed to the Crystal Beast and Real and Elements in Hero deck. Shout outs to him. But for Kashtiras, you just gotta stop them before it starts. So I'm gonna mention the top 5 cards that Crush mentioned, and then I'm gonna implement mine on top of their top 5. So the bottom 5 with them is being Nightmare Corrupted Ibly, which you slap it on their side of the field, they can't play. Pretty simple, right? Okay. So now let's move on. We got Nibiru and Kurikara Demicarbonate. Nibiru not so much, but Kurikara is definitely way better than Nibiru. So honestly, it's a good side deck option, but I will probably just splash in just that one. Because who's to say just that one can help you get over a turn 0 or a turn 1, especially if you lose the dice roll. Nibiru is like a hit and miss because they rarely put up 5 monsters on the board. Most they'll put up 4. Correct me if I'm wrong. But even if they do put up a 5th, they're gonna be able to stop you in Nibiru. And Kurikara is just one of those. You just hope they use an effect. They're going to use an effect. They're going to use the effect of, I believe, Rise Heart to special summon Kashtira out the deck. That's on standby phase. So you spraying this on them. Or you just have a card in the graveyard that they can banish face down. Then you just wipe that whole board out. Number 3, I believe on their list is Swords of Concealing Light. This card has shot up in price. So if you ain't got your copies, I feel bad for you. Commons will work. I believe they're in the Sacred Beast Structure deck, but correct me if I'm wrong on that one. You get them common in the Sacred Beast Structure deck. But other than that, the ultras are just up the walls up. I thank God I got my 2 already. And it's like a number 2 and number 1 basically. Before I get into that, the only problem with Swords Concealing Light is it's a continuous. They can't change the battle positions. However, if that card gets destroyed, like Twin Twisters, Cosmic Cyclone, things like that, you're pretty much out and they can change their battle positions. And it's a spell speed too. It's not really interactive like, say, a Book of Moon, a Book Eclipse, which honestly the books are the top 2. I believe I'm missing one from their list, but I'm just gonna say those for now. But those are like the top 4, top 5 to stop Kashtira in this format, according to other meta players. But what we must understand with Kashtira, especially Shangri-La, or how you pronounce his name, he has to be face up on the field to keep your zones locked. So I'm letting you know right now. And then you got Rise Heart as a walking macrocosmos. So you cannot imperm. You cannot imperm Shangri-La and Dark Ruler no more thinking you're going to be all good and golden. Nope. Because Shangri-La is a lingering effect. So even if you negate it, your zones are still locked. Let me say it again. If you imperm and Dark Ruler no more, your zones are still locked. So it's just a waste of a card. Side deck it, why not? Main deck it, why not? But you looking at book cards as your better alternative. So, and also, you can run Raigeki or Dark Hole. Clear their field. Clear your board. Even if you don't have a way to summon Nightmare Corrupted Ibly, you can always destroy it with Dark Hole. And then on resolution, special summon it to their field. Lock them out. Just that simple. Because they don't have any protection or no negates. So, even when using Nightmare Corrupted Ibly, you can also link it off with Lingaribo, But if you only running one Lingeribo and they search your deck to banish it, not only that they got resources to your extra deck and figure out what you're playing, but that one copy of your Lingeribo is, yeah, you ain't got no outs for that anymore. So I actually kind of told you the top 5 of theirs. And the number 1 that they had on their list was Book of Eclipse. Of course, you can put their Xyz monsters face down, thus opening back your field zone. However, at the end phase, once you flip them, they all draw a card for every card that was affected by this effect. That's not the problem, because you're going to clear their board anyway. But let's just say if you play Book of Eclipse and they play Ash, now you're screwed, because Book of Eclipse has the effect to draw. So since you play Book of Eclipse and they chain with an Ash, you just lost out on your out. So be aware and be mindful how you play Book of Eclipse, unless you got called by the grave ready or cross out designated to take care of their Ash. Other than that, your Book of Eclipse is the only negate that they may incorporate. So that's the list for the pro players. Here's my list. So, few things you need to know about Kashtira. I already mentioned it, but I'm finna repeat it again. 1, they lock zones. 2, they banish, whether they face up, face down. And 3, if not of 3, they just don't want you to play Yu-Gi-Oh! And to put the cherry on top, whatever they banish, they're going to attach to Rise High and detach 3 to banish again, thus repeating the same process over and over again. Just so they can get enough zones locked so that you can't even play Yu-Gi-Oh! If you summon one monster, you better make it count. Because that's pretty much it. Now for mine, in addition to those top 5 cards. You might want to consider running Artifact Lancia. Reason being because, only drawback is it's on your opponent's turn. But if it's on your turn, it's not really a good card to start with. So that brings me to this next card that you might want to consider, which is pretty much for both, and that's Imperial Iron Wall. Imperial Iron Wall is a continuous trap that prevents both players from banishing cards. It's not searchable, however, with Pharaonic Advent that just recently came out in full-time Hypernova, you tribute one monster to special summon and then tribute another to search it and set it. So, but the only thing is it has to be either a plant or a fairy. So you tribute a fairy, special summon it. Also tribute another plant or fairy to search a continuous trap. You get that, set it, be done with it. So that's a good turn 1. And we also got the new kid on the block that's also in this set, which is Gravekeeper's Inscription. Gravekeeper's Inscription has to be activated at the start of the main phase. If you had planned on using Pot of Extravagance, you got to pick your poisons. You got to pick and choose your poisons. Otherwise, it can make it break you. Hold on a second. So you got to pick and choose your poisons, because Gravekeeper's Inscription is a really good card. It's a normal spell card at that. So, which is searchable with triple tactics thrust. However, if you play thrust, search it, you can only use it at the next turn. So it defeats the whole purpose. It can also be searched with the trap card Sales Pitch. That's if your opponent searches. But not many people searching. They're just accumulating cards through special summoning from the deck. But if you do, you get lucky. But it's a very slow card in this format. But Gravekeeper's Inscriptions at start of the main phase, you activate 1 of 3 effects and it applies to both players. They can't banish cards, they can't special summon cards out the grave, nor activate effects in the grave, if I'm not mistaken. So it's a It's a silent graveyard 1.5, if that makes sense. So that can also stop tier elements too. It can stop Dark World just by your opponent can activate monsters in the graveyard. Silent Graveyard does the same thing too. Stops Kashtira, stops Dark World, anything that discards and activates in the graveyard, it stops it. And that also leads me to my next card, Silent Graveyard. Just like Gravekeeper's Inscription, this is a quick play which requires you to discard a card as cost. But I would choose Gravekeeper's Inscription if you want to keep that. If you want a cost-free card. Next on the list, Earth Shattering Event for those that still want to play tier. Earth Shattering Event is a card that if a card gets dumped from either player's deck to the graveyard, it prevents them from returning cards from the graveyard to the deck. That's all it does. Shuts down tier element. But how does this pertain to Kashtira? It really doesn't. But you got one or two cards that they may play that they recur to graveyard, maybe just once. But it's not really effective. But it's just a side deck option if in case you run into a Kashtira player. But the whole subject is to counter Kashtira, and I know I kind of drift away from it, but I'm just giving you options. So what we got so far from my arsenal, we got Artifact Landseal, we got Imperial Iron Wall, and another card on my list. It may work, but it's gonna break at the same time though, because they do recur when they're banished, and that's Evenly Matched. This is like one of my least, but it can get you out of a situation if you're in a grind. You can comment and agree with me or not, but if they got the nuts and your hands all bricky, I don't know what to tell you. Either increase your deck size ratio or just increase your deck size ratio. Or play around good better cards. All right, now here's the best for last. Any cards that tributes their cards on the side of the field, like Lava Golem, Volcanic Queen, Raw Spear Mode, and all the Kaijus. They're definitely good in this format. But none of them are searchable except the Kaijus. If you put Interrupted Kaiju Slum in the graveyard, if it's been there more than a turn, banish it to search a Kaiju. Big deal. Raw Spear Mode is searchable with 1 or 2 cards. You can put in the True Sun God, which is a continuous spell. Let you search anything that has Raw in its name with Spear Mode. And then its other effect is to put Immortal Phoenix and Graveyard, send a Raw from your field to the graveyard to put a monster reborn in the graveyard, thus triggering Immortal Phoenix to special summon out the graveyard. And then on the end phase, he goes back to the graveyard, summoning Raw Spear Mode or Winged Dragon or Raw ignoring summoning conditions, blah, 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 on your turn so that your opponent cannot target it with card effects or battle. So it's kind of like a little wall if they don't banish it. So I pretty much cover all that. Also, the Book of Moons, like the face downs, put them face down with Book Eclipse, Book of Moon, Book of Lunar Eclipse, Souls of Concealing Light. This level 2 Fairy Light, Time Retina or something like that. Somewhere along those lines is his name. And what she does is you select 2 monsters, one on your field, one on your opponent. You Book of Moon them, and then she gets special summon. But if your fields are already locked, she won't work. So that's all I got to talk about against the Kashtira. So You stop them from banishing. You stop their board. You stop them from Exceed summoning, and that's another thing too with this card too. With these two cards that three actually. And they don't put up negates, just destroy them. Just book them on them, destroy them, and go on about your victory. You ain't got to worry about it. You ain't got to cry about it. Those that think outside the box know how to handle a situation. So with these three cards, two of these cards are the same, but one of them is quicker. But the slower one has a really good effect though. One of them I'm going to talk about Spellbound. So the first thing they're going to put up board is Shangri-La. So on their second summon or their level 7 summon, if you can stop them on their second summon before they go into their rank 7 play, which I'm thinking the one that searches itself to special summon, I forgot his name, but you know who I'm talking about. You play Spellbound once they're successfully summoned, and it locks them from tributing and using those cards as materials. Yes. They go summon, search, summon. Okay, spring, Spellbound. And all they have to do is scoop. End phase. They just got two bodies on the field and they can't go into an extra deck summon because of this. And that's going to lead me to the next card I'm going to talk about, which is similar, which is Warning Point. The difference between Warning Point and Spellbound is Warning Point's a trap. And Warning Point doesn't prevent your opponent from tributing. So they can tribute. However, they just can't use it as a material. So that's the difference between Warning Point and Spellbound. Spellbound stops their monsters from being tributed. Warning Point doesn't. However, Warning Point has the ability to negate the effects of the monsters that were summoned at that time. So that's the difference. And also, I got another card in addition to, just by keep talking. We also got D barrier, dimension barrier. Gonna have to side them in too. Just for consideration. You call Xyz. Xyz can't be summoned, played, or the effects can't be activated. So we got Spellbound, we got D barrier, we got Warning Point. There was one more that I was supposed to mention, but it just slipped my mind just that quick. Just bear with me. Trust me, I'll give it to you. So what do we cover? We got all the kaijus, the lava golems, the spirit modes. We got the books. Flip them face down. We got all the destructions. And wow, I really cannot think of that card. It was just right there on top of my head before D-Berry got mentioned. I guess not. I guess it wasn't meant for me to talk about it, but I'll figure it out. So, just tell me what you think about these additional cards. So I just put out many options for you to out Kashtira. So you got a lot of people that will be pissed all you playing this card, and well, screw them. It won me the game, did it? Did you have your out? Just like everybody say, just draw it out, bro. That meme is so crazy, especially if you see the tier elements memes after the ban is dropped. They are insanely ridiculous. Not ridiculous, but hilarious. So, and there was another one. Like I said, my memory gets clouded with so many ideas, and I can only get to pick and choose which one to say. But that's all I got for now. against Kashtira. And trust me, I got plenty more of stopping Kashtira with rogue cards. Cards like Super Poly. Trust me, you don't want to banish them. It's better for them in the graveyard or in the deck. You don't want to banish them, but rather destroy them. You can also use the continuous spell with Cyber Dragon. You can use these two together. Make them all machines and just contact fuse the entire board. You know what I'm talking about. It came out in Crystal Revenge. I just don't know the name of the continuous spell card. Use this, summon Cyber Dragon, contact fuse. Even if you don't play the continuous spell card, just one Cyber Dragon is enough. Because you would definitely out the rank 8, the one that locks the field zone. Just special summon Cyber Dragon, contact these two, and bam. You got a Chimera Tech Fortress Dragon on the field. With 2,000 attack. So, and then you got your Super Poly targets. They got 2 Xyz. If you've managed to take control of one, that's fine. And one monster I forgot to mention too that's also in the Lava Golem category. Well, 2 of them. One, Santa Claus. The other drawback is that your opponent will draw a card because it's on their field. And the new Sky Striker monster, Hamp. So it's a double-edged sword to them. You tribute their stuff. If you control no monsters in the main zone, hint, your field is locked. Bam, spring it up on them and destroy by battle card effect, and then his effect would kick off in the grave and deal damage with the Arouse Heart. So you go Hamp on Shangri Earlaw, pop his ass, and then his graveyard effect will activate to blow a card on the field. Yeah, I know I'm so crazy right now, but I still can't think of that one card. It'll come to me, and then I just link it in the comments instead of making a whole video about it. But I got another video for another IQ Tech. Be sure, because I want to focus on, Rebirth Judgment, because that card is gonna be nuts. But yeah, and don't forget, you can use Pharaonic Advent to search any continuous trap card. Triple Tactics Thrust searches any normal spell or trap. But if your opponent controls a monster, it gets added to your hand. But if you play cards like, if you do search the normal trap with Triple Tactics Thrust, if you play Temple of Kings, it can be activated the turn it's set. So you just, even if they don't control a monster, you can activate the trap card the turn it's set because of the Temple of the King. Or you find a way to bounce it in your hand. But that's all I got to say for right now. I just can't think of that one card. But anyway, this is how you know the flaws of Kashtira. Let me know what you think in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and comment for your boy. This will help encourage me to do more video content, at least stay in it. And I will get back to you in Dueling Field with more deck profiles and also more IQ 200 content. All right, guys, go out there, happy hunting. Don't worry, keep a level head. Let's make these Kashtira players scoop. And let's bring back the fun and back and forth dueling. All right, guys, be safe, stay blessed.